Good evening, Mike's Astro blog, a new one, this time about astrophotography. If you just take a look at the camera down here, pick this one up from a car boot. It's only 4 megapixels and it runs on a smart media card. This one here only holds about 32 megabytes, but you can use VGA quality 64 by 480, but it has a long exposure of 16 seconds. I'm going to do a comparison. The trouble is, when you take these outside in the damp in November in England, they get full of condensation. So I've taken this out, the lens is fogged, but it's got full of vapour behind the lens. So all I'm doing now is cleaning there around the lens. Stop now. These are the important things about astrophotography. All telescopes, okay, mirrors, etc., are prone to condensation and fogging, and for photography that's a real no-no. You've got options. You can either allow the telescope to acclimatise to the damp, horrible conditions outside, or you can use a dryer. I bring mine inside, and like with this Camedia, I'm drying it. It probably only lasts about 10-15 minutes, and then it will fog my pictures again. What I'll do is I'll do this for a few minutes. I'll check the camera inside. Since I've removed the water vapour, if it looks okay inside, I can bring it outside, and I've got about 10 minutes. It'll fog up again. Okay, so as you can see, you're now looking at the back screen of my camera here. I'm having a look in fairly dark mode. I've got this on M. If you look at that, it's manual mode. Now, for astrophotography, you need to set the shutter right as slow as you can. Maybe not 16 seconds. Try 13 seconds. So if I take this up to 13. That's slowly getting there. Okay, that's 16 seconds, say 13 seconds, right? It's f2.8. Okay, I don't want high quality on this one. There's high quality on the bottom, so what I'm doing is menu mode, and I'm going to go into the actual shooting quality, go into this. That's high quality there, but I don't want that. I want to go into standard quality 2. So go in standard quality 2, which is the one down the bottom, press enter. I also want to make sure I've got noise reduction. Basically, ISO, I'm not happy with ISO 100, so I go into menu mode, menu, and I need to go into a very high ISO setting, right? So if I go up in the menu there, like so, down to the ISO, and I want to choose ISO 400. Enter, that's fine. But I'm also needing to take noise reduction off because there's noise on a long exposure. So I put your noise reduction on. Okay, press the mode menu. I'm ready for shooting now. See, that's my personal setting. ISO 400 standard quality. That's VGA 640 by 480. So when we go outside in a second, that's what I'm going to be shooting on. Okay. And this is how we roll with Mike and his astrophotography. Now a word about your mount. Okay. Now, your mount is very, very important. Basically, I don't mean a horse here, I mean the tripod. The last time this tripod saw life, Haircut 100 were #1, and everybody was going down to the lake and going reg, reg, reg. But who cares? In those days, I even went to a big 80s wedding. It was my sister's. In those days, video cameras weighed in the terms of kilograms, and they had to have these big boys here in order to put them on. However, you noticed I've done what I call a number of nunky fixes on Mike's tripod. And we have, for instance, instead of having the huge clamp mechanism which would go in here, right down there, which your video camera with its taping that would weigh kilograms would go into, what I've got is a marker pen. Okay, always think of something simple for astronomy. Then from a hardware store, I've got a clamp. It clamps that way and this way. And the idea is I found a marker pen fits beautifully into this part of the tripod. As long as you use brute force and ignorance and put it in, don't break the tripod. Okay, like so. Now you'd say, well, why have I got this on this side here? Well, basically, I've clamped the clamp to the top of this marker pen. It's a permanent marker pen. On my tripod, I've rolled the tripod up using these settings here as high as I can, right? This is the clamp here where I can raise it up and down. I've raised it up as high as I can. Okay, then you clamp it there. The reason why you need to do that for astrophotography is, if you look at this handle here, you need to have your camera so it's pointing right overhead, or you won't get those beautiful Milky Way pictures you've been dreaming of. And I've never got them yet. but I'm still trying. Basic car boot equipment should not be messed around with. Again, I picked this up at a car boot. Someone who'd grown out of the 80s, not me of course, because I loved the 80s, the whole lot of them, basically decided to get rid of it because this bad boy won't take the modern cameras. But with a little nunky fix, no problem. However, don't try this at home and you take a risk. This is the actual screw underneath my camera, okay, and what I've used is from a drill bit. I found that this thread actually fits into the normal camera screw underneath it, okay. So I screw that into the bottom of my camera like so. Make sure it's tight, but not tight to break it. Okay, the next problem I have with these cameras, back in the 80s and the 90s, etc., or even the noughties, up until fairly recently, these bad boys ate batteries. By that I mean you needed 4 alkalines, right? And you would probably only last less than an hour on 4 alkalines. Then this bad boy here would basically burn your batteries out. Okay, they would be DEAD, boy. So what you need to do is, I had this from a cheap little speaker. You need an adapter that bangs out enough volts and amps for this bad boy. I mean, basically, even a normal cheap adapter pushes out 300 milliamps. It's not enough. You're needing 500 or 600 milliamps. But I borrowed this from a cheap little speaker I had. Stop. Next, the important thing. Your camera, with its little fix from your toolkit, is going to have to be clamped into your little clamp. So basically, I put it into the clamp, and you've got to screw the clamp on like so. Tight, but it's not going to break it, basically, but tight where it's safe. Okay, make sure it's clamped on the other side. Make sure your marker pen's in fine. This is not a heavy camera, okay? And again, okay, if you break your camera doing it, that's up to you, but this is a car boot camera and I'm taking a risk, and I can't take astrophotography unless this is clamped. Right, your clamp has got a screw here and one here on this side here. This one here, which I'm moving there, is for rotating your camera around. So if you just back off a bit, you obviously see my camera. I can rotate my camera around on this axis, okay, and track objects there. But the thing for astrophotography is you really need to have a mount. That's why I've moved the mount right up so that your camera can be clamped right high in the heavens, okay? Now what I've noticed here is obviously this fix here is going to have to be, you know, properly in, and that's going to have to be clamped, okay, like so. Right, not perfect, I'm sure you'll agree, but from what I'm you can see there's a bubble in this. In the 80s these things came with bubbles basically, so you know it's level, okay. You might want to cup your hand underneath it when it's doing a photograph at this level, because what I'm using is very basic equipment here. As I said to you, you're working on a tight budget with astrophotography. You've got to find a camera that can take long exposures, and the ISO on this is only 400. That's not incredibly fast, and it could be that the camera that's taking the pictures of me doing this might be better than this one for some things, but I don't know about stars, because this can do 16-second exposures, and we're going to try and see what results we get. Okay? Right, I'm going to try and take a picture of Orion now, medium telephoto, ISO 400, noise reduction off, and the telephoto might help with the metering on the camera. Right, you can see on the screen there, can you see the little stars on the screen there, Jane? From my angle you might be able to. You can see that it's picked up the belt of Orion there. Okay, and the acid test is you can always use a little flashlight and see whether your lens is fogged up. As you can see, it's not. You can spend a whole session doing this and then look at your pictures and find they're all fogged up, so just the hairdryer trick works, but be careful of the temperature.